Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our show. We apologise again for our tardiness with a few technical issues back end, but we're here, we're live. Thank you all for tuning in again, and thank you for watching. It's becoming a bit of a regular slot for us now on a Thursday evening, hopefully at the time that suits. If you're watching us back, you're obviously welcome as well. Thank you very much. Thank you to I think we've got 14 people tuning in at the moment on Facebook, so make sure you say hello to us. Make sure you, let us know any stories you've got, any comments to the venues we mentioned tonight, or anything like that, really. But this is our show, Southern Ghost Sighted Live. We're trying to bring these to you during lockdown, trying to keep ghosts in your life and keep it relevant and keep spirits high.
Oh, nice.
Keep your spirits high. Missed an absolute opportunity with that. An absolute opportunity. Yeah, keep your spirits high. Won't be long till we're out there. Like I said before, we're plotting and planning where to go and what we're going to be doing. So it won't be long before we start launching where we're going. But until then, we're going to bring you these shows. Like I said, all the way through this, like the videos, share the videos, go and follow us on YouTube if you can. We're trying to build that audience, and once we do go out investigating, we're going to bring you exactly to the venue. Obviously, signal permitting, but bring you to the venue and then try and bring you along with us. So, yeah, the more you sort of like and share, and the more you follow us on YouTube, the more we'll be able to do that. So, thanks everyone for tuning in. Tonight's show. So we've got Dave Lee Newton said hello straight away.
Hi, mate.
Hi, mate. Long time no see. As soon as we can get out there, mate, we've definitely got to collaborate again and get going. Julie's on again, ever present, even Julie, and then Zoe as well. Welcome, Zoe. Haven't seen you for ages, Zoe. So you need to come back with us as soon as we're allowed to as well. So thanks for tuning in. So tonight on the show, we're back.
Yes.
Obviously to boost the ratings. Obviously, so many complaints on Saturday that we weren't in. So
we were sorely missed.
I heard it was the best figures, wasn't it? So I think you did. I think you nailed it. But yeah, obviously we
were watching, weren't we?
We were watching, yeah, in our we won't go there. We were watching most definitely. But Sarah Turner's on, said hello.
Sarah.
Karina as well said hello. So make sure you say hello. Make sure you sort of get involved in the show. On tonight's show, we've got the regular faces. So myself and Lee, you've got Mary, Hev, and then Andy as well. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Tonight's show is about manor houses. So tonight's show we're starting talking about manor houses, and like I said, every week we're going to try and bring to you a different topic, and then we'll do the usual thing. So on a Thursday evening or for a weeknight evening, we'll talk about the topic, we'll talk about venues, or we'll talk about the investigation techniques, or we'll talk about a topic, and then what we do on the Saturday, we'll try and bring you the evidence we chat about, or relevant evidence to back up, so like I say, tonight we're talking about manor houses and all things manor houses. Be really interesting. It'd be really interesting to get your thoughts on manor house, any sort of favourite ones you've been to. Certainly we'll be making a note of them and trying to visit them as well. But yeah, tonight we're going to bring you everything that we know and everything we've been doing about manor houses, and then also bringing it back on Sunday evening this week. We've changed it to Sunday evening this week. We're going to start chatting about showing you the evidence of that. So we've got Julie said she can't see us on YouTube. Yeah, a few technical issues with YouTube at the moment. We're trying to fix it, but as long as you're on Facebook and you're chatting to us, then that's the most important thing. And then for those that will watch it on YouTube, apologies for not being live, but we'll post it as soon as we can, so you'll be able to watch us from there. A few more. So we've got Steve says hello from sunny Sunderland. Hello, mate. Long time no speak and see. Nikki, James as well. And then Dave said definitely about going back out there. We had some really good investigations with the boys. So we had a really good investigation at the block, didn't we? With the boys there, so we can't wait to get back out with you definitely soon, and we'll start collaborating. I know there was a few places up north that you said for us to go to as well. So, manor houses. What do we reckon? So, manor houses. What I thought we'd start the show with sort of saying really is what is a manor house? It's not sort of teaching people how to suck eggs, but what's really defined as a manor house, and then what is what's defined as a manor house? The sort of Google definition, and then really what we sort of define as a manor house and what we've sort of come across. So a manor house is listed as any sort of house formed in the centre of an estate. Historically, the main residence of a lord or a lady of the manor, but actually it was corrected on sort of midday today, where actually we've had lots of communication with not just the lord and lady, with servants, with other members of the family, with people that are associated with it. So actually the beautiful thing about a manor house, there's so much history we can go back on and chat about, and so much history we can research before we go out there to sort of see who we're talking to and try and bring a bit of evidence. And what's key about it is when we go somewhere like Fort Widley, for instance, where we talked about that last week, where there's no shots sort of really fired in anger.
Yeah.
When you get a name through, it's hard to substantiate, isn't it? But actually, with a manor house, you've got so much history dating back to day dot.
All recorded as well.
And that's the thing, really. And I think that Mary sort of brought a really good point. We went to visit Fulford House, and actually that manor house there was a strange place. But actually we had the mother and father and the sons still live there now. So that not only we're investigating the history of a manor house, we've also got family members that live there who have had their own personal and paranormal experiences. So not only could we trace back that family tree and really gain some really good information about the house, and along with the research, they had their own personal experiences in the house as well. So they was this, and I know you're investigating one side of the house, but actually you do have. I had an experience here, or I came into contact with something here. So for us, it was really interesting. So manor houses, okay, predominantly lord and lady in the manor, but it could be all manner of people. We have conversations with servants, don't we? All manner of people.
Yeah.
So I missed that as well.
You're on fire now.
But yeah, so sorry about that. But there'll be all puns all night. Yeah, but but we do, don't we? We've spoken to servants and people that visit the houses and butchers and bakers and candlestick makers, and
it wasn't just the people that live there.
No,
there was so many people
connected as well. I think we've had a few conversations with that.
Exactly. And you're able to trace that back. I know David has said, manor houses make brilliant investigations because of the history. Absolutely. And that's what we're sort of chatting about tonight. So they're the sort of general definitions of a large country house with land. And that's how they sort of constitute manor houses. And I think we're going to chat about our favourite experiences and stuff like that later on. And we were talking about what constitutes a manor house. And we had an experience in a manor house, but took part in the chapel of a manor house. So we were sort of saying, can we include that? And then Heather was talking about Manor Farm, weren't you? The farm that's located here. And that we've had in the houses. But they were still part of a manor. So actually, there are lots of things that constitute a manor house. You know, mansions, manor houses, country homes, stately homes. And again, like David said on there, Damien Baker said, "Remind you have to watch your manners."
Okay, keep them coming.
keep the puns going. But generally, like I say, the history in them is so vast, so traceable that anything that's happened there, good or bad, and I think that it actually changes the way we look at things as well. So, but yeah, from a manor house, from manor houses, and like David said there, like I said about much brilliant history. Question then to start with. Why do we enjoy manor houses? So why do you think, as the ghost community, we enjoy manor houses or investigating manor houses?
Well, as you said there, it's validating the evidence that we've collated, and it's if we can validate it for somewhere where we can conclusively prove that information is correct, it adds more credibility to other venues where we do have names, like you're saying, Widley. We can't always validate the information we get from that. But if we've got venues where we 100% can validate the information, why should other venues and other investigations be any different? So it adds credibility, I think, to the research and the evidence gathering that we do at all the venues. So, yeah, it is the validation of the evidence and the findings. I like that connection with history. You sort of like Preston Manor, you walk in there, you're stepping back in time, and it makes an investigation come alive because you're interacting with the objects and the artifacts that the people we're talking to, or the spirits we're talking to, they touched, they interacted with, they used. And we're talking about the servants downstairs. You can imagine the hustle and bustle in the kitchens and the downstairs quarters and the corridors, and you can almost hear the chatter and the organised chaos, and it just going into a manor house where you've got the history laid out in front of you. Those are the props. And it just makes the investigation come alive, really, for me. I love them all. I just love manor houses. You just get a really good vibe when you walk into them. I haven't gone into a manor house and gone, oh, this is really bad vibe. You just walk in and it just starts the investigation in the right way for me. So
you kind of sort of you get a snapshot of not only the history but see how other people live as well. So that's part of the enjoyment. It's probably very different to everybody else's everyday living, but something you can still relate to. So because you are walking into someone's house, you're a guest there, and it's just something that it's different, but something relatable as well, you know.
And quite often we get to go behind the scenes of places that, you know, if you were there, like, you know, some of them are transformed into museums and bits and pieces like that. And the public have access to certain rooms or certain areas. Doing the ghost investigation, we normally, you know, 99% of the time have unlimited access to everywhere, don't we?
Yeah.
So, you know, we're privileged that we can perhaps investigate areas that, you know, members of the public don't ever get to see as well. So
it adds a bit of pressure on us, doesn't it? Because you've got the artifacts around. You just got to be careful not to knock anything, you know,
touch anything, dress up as anything.
Just got to be really careful.
No, don't think anyone does that, though, do we?
No.
I don't know of anyone.
No, I know it's going a bit off piece here, but Preston Manor, I always remember a story. I know we talk about doing a blooper reel. I remember a story, and the first time we went there, they were just saying to us, listen, be very careful. Like, there's pine cones on the chairs that you can't sit on, and it's quite self-explanatory, but everything is expensive. So he's made a joke going up the stairs. Or what about that pot? I like that pot for my lounge, and just said something like that, like a vase. It was a big vase. And then him and, was it Simon and Dave, I think, were putting up cameras. They were putting up cameras. And so we went up, and then he's fed the camera reel, or the wire, over the fireplace, but behind the pot.
I didn't want to be a trip hazard because we could have broken something.
So he didn't want to be a trip hazard. But then I think it was either Simon or Dave said, "You got any slack?" And Lee went, "Yeah, give it a pull." And they pulled it, and this vase just rocked. And honestly, right, the whole, you know, we were insured up to sort of £5 million, all that sort of stuff. But I'm thinking, there is no way that's going to cover that vase. And it was rocking, and it was teetering on the edge. And I was thinking, oh God, you know, it's a venue we're really excited about. And yeah,
I just wanted to show you what could happen in a situation like that, and to be wary of it.
Definitely. But yeah, that was that live with me in my memory. Just that sort of.
Why we don't set up cameras anymore?
What's that?
Is that the reason why we don't set up those cameras anymore?
That's it. That's exactly it. Yeah,
be careful.
Nikki said online here as well that she loves the Manor Farm cottages. I think that when we started talking about Manor, I think Manor Farm's probably a show in itself. Really, I think, you know, venues that you don't expect to be. I think that I remember Manor Farm cottages as a kid going in there and feeling
stuffed dog.
The dog, yeah. What's his name? Nimrod. Yeah, Nimrod the dog. Yeah, it's just
about the dog.
That's what it's called. But it used to creep me out massively, even going around there. And we've had some fantastic stuff in there, haven't we? We've got EVPs in there, so that's maybe a show for another time. I think Manor.
We've actually got quite a lot of Manor Farm, haven't we? So
definitely.
Yeah, save that.
Dave's agreed with myself. Dave said, like you said, Manor houses are great because they're traceable history and you can validate so much. Now we tend to, when you come on a personal investigation with us, on a public event or whatever, we tend to keep names, history all to ourselves. So we won't be going, you know, this was Lady someone's room or this was the son's room, whatever. We keep that to ourselves. But certainly when we're on a private investigation, it gives you someone to call out to. It gives you some validation if you get a name through, you know, and you can trace the history back. So you know the room would have been the nursery or the kids' room or the scullery. And you're able to either really tailor your questions to manor houses. When you go to somewhere where it's derelict, or you go somewhere where you think the room was something, then you're almost clutching at straws. And do you know what I like about manor houses? Did you die here? Were you murdered? That's all out the window. It's real. Thank you ever so much for letting us come into your house. And it's really sort of chatting. You're really chatting like you would. And I think if you go with that approach, it really works and really works for us. Talking about approaches then, do we act differently then? What a question then for us. Do you think we act differently, or do we investigate differently?
I think
in a manor house?
We definitely approach the investigation differently. So for me personally, I do like looking at the history of a place, find out who was there, what they were doing, etc. And with a manor house, you get a lot more information about their day-to-day lives. So, for example, we talk about Preston Manor. In old papers, it would actually tell you when the family were moving to Preston Manor and when they were going back to London. You would basically have the ins and outs of their life entirely. What servants they'd hired when, what sort of people that they wanted to be there. The newspapers were very interested at that time, just the minutiae of the upper classes. So you get a huge backstory. You get a real feeling of who was there. So when we're investigating, certainly when I'm going about calling out, I like talking about things that have happened that, unlike something like a prison, are usually good things that people might want to talk about, things you would talk about to a friend when you bumped into or a family member. You can talk about that garden party that happened and the vicar who got really drunk, and those kind of very human stories, which you can't really do in many places because you just don't have the information that's more than a few years old. And you tend to get quite good responses back from it, because I think that sort of trying to make connection thing is a lot easier if you know who you're trying to connect to.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree with that. Like, I think you set everything about the investigation. You set up I do personally set up differently. You know, you go around. I think compared to like prisons and castles that have got the dark, sort of deep history, with these kind of places, I think you do. There's more. You know, you put a softer approach to it. I think you're more grateful for being there. You know, you're lucky to be inside some of these amazing homes that, you know, people were lucky to get back in the day. Not everyone could go in there. So, you know, and again with the same with children. You know, I think you're more respectful in Manor House. Do you agree?
Yeah, I definitely think. I think that you have a different approach. You just sort of the whole demeanour is different. I think.
Yeah, I think you have to be as well. You have to be respectful.
I think
to get anything back.
When you sort of start off the investigation, normally you kind of introduce yourself generally, but instead of like a manor house, you actually say, "Thanks for letting me in your home," etc. And you would not say that in Bob in jail, would you? Thanks for welcoming me into your home.
Definitely not.
What a lovely hangman.
That's for sharing the cell with you.
Yeah,
it is so true though. Your whole demeanour changes, and that's. You know, you look at, we've said Preston Manor 100 times on there, and I think there's a show in Preston Manor as well. But what we know from Preston Manor, if anyone's ever been there or anyone's ever researched it or been lucky enough to investigate it, you can walk in that house and there's a picture. I think it's 1906 or something. So you look at the picture, walking into the lounge, and there's a photo of how the lounge sat. And the only thing that's different in that room is the pine cones on the chairs. Yeah. But also the mat. I think it was the rug they bought. They had it imported. It wasn't the same rug. But apart from that, it's exactly the same. You've got what's that? Oh,
Heather's got a guest.
Heather's got a guest. That's real. So, but yeah. So, but yeah. And you go up to the bedroom, and her bedroom has the bed
clothes. The hairbrushes on the side.
Yeah, and it's crazy. It's amazing to link into and just show that sort of respect. And I mean, we're lucky with Preston Manor because Preston Manor has an original seance room. She conducted investigations because she thought the family were cursed or whatever. So she had that connection. So you're able to really tap into that. And they're also recognising the tech, especially Preston Manor. They recognise the techniques we're using because she sort of practiced them a little bit herself. So
yeah,
it's definitely
set up correctly, that one, I think.
I think so. And we're lucky. I mean. Yeah, we are lucky. David was saying on the chat as well that, sorry if I keep looking down, I'm sort of monitoring the chat as well, so I'm not being rude or anything. I'm just looking at the chat. But so intelligent spirits seem to be protective of the property for some reason, like the emotion stays there somehow. Absolutely spot on.
I do find that we're saying about sort of changing our techniques slightly. You almost like have to gain the confidence of the person you're communicating with. You think if you are communicating with somebody, we class it as downstairs, one of the maids, the servants, whomever they were, they would never have spoken out of turn or gossiped about what went on in the house. They showed the family they were working for the utmost of respect. So to get any information about those people or from those people is a massive honour for us because, they normally weren't allowed to be heard. That, alone be caught gossiping to the strangers like us that have wandered in for the evening. So it is just amazing to be able to go in and gain the confidence of the spirits that we're actually talking to and have those conversations. It's pretty cool.
Definitely. I don't know. Every time we have these chats, it just makes me want to go. The list gets longer and longer of where we want to go.
Wherever any place we talk about, we go. That's a place we've got to go first.
I know. We've got. I think Preston Manor's a show in itself, and again, I think all these venues, like we said, are sort of shows in itself. And I think that not to sort of give too much away, but we've had so many good experiences at manor houses. And like Hev said, you don't get that. Do you know? I'm going to sort of contradict a little bit. I think I had my worst ever experience in a manor house when I was at Fulford House, where I sort of, and again, I'll probably talk about it later on, but really sort of didn't feel right. But apart from that one experience, you don't really get that unhappiness. Maybe not happy to communicate with us, like you said, because they wouldn't normally communicate with the outside or wouldn't normally talk about the family. But once you gain that trust and you get that, you get that sort of interaction, before you know it, you've got some really good dates to substantiate from. You've got some really good stuff you can chat about, and and then sort of start to build that investigation. So we've talked about stuff then. So we talked about loads, haven't we, in terms of investigation? We all mentioned a few favourites. If you had to say now, you're going to have to say now, your favourite manor house. So let's look at the blanket of manor houses and mansions, halls. Where would you say your
Just
best
every
ever?
time.
I know, sorry.
Put me on the spot as well.
Oh, sorry, mate.
And do you know what? My favourite manor house has got to be Preston Manor.
Is it?
Yeah, it's got to be. But just for the setup and how everything runs there, it's just an amazing house to walk back. You literally walk back into history through the front door. And yeah, it's got to be Preston Manor for me.
It just doesn't look like, again, you talk about that, it doesn't look like what it is inside. If you think about it, it looks almost 70s built, doesn't it, from the sort of square. You can imagine it being like a 70s.
It's not a pretty house from the outside, is it?
I guess it looks better from. I've never really seen it from the other side, but I'm guessing it looks better from.
It's Preston Park, isn't it?
Didn't we?
Yeah.
We went on the front one time, Lee, to take some photos, and it's kind of got that ivy and stuff on the front of the building. That looks nice from that side.
Because there's green shutters. Yeah, watch out for that hill as you go up.
That's another one.
Yeah, but you've got the graveyard attached to it as well, haven't you?
Yeah, that adds another dimension. They're buried there, aren't they?
The family are buried there, so they didn't actually didn't go too far from the house. But yeah, the whole setting of Preston Manor, it's got to be it for me.
What about you, Andy?
Woodchester Mansion, for a few reasons. So historically, there's been a lodge house on that building, on that plot for 1,000 years, and then eventually you end up with this mansion which is half built, completely empty, only slightly lived in, but has elements of all the previous buildings kind of built into the framework of it. You can see the floors in some area with a completely warm flat, even though one family member lived in a couple of the rooms, and that was about it. But as a location, it's fantastic for investigating because it's on the top of a hill and then in a valley, so it's completely shielded from anything outside. Audio, EMF, anything doesn't get into that valley. So anything you capture in there is inside that valley. Sometimes you get lots of animals and things, but you can control that. But as a location where you can just say, I know what these conditions are, I know what's going on. There's no one walking around with torches outside. There's no cars playing loud music. There's nothing else going on apart from you and the mansion and all your stuff. And the least people you can go with, the kind of the more controlled that gets. And in case of actually getting things there, it's been pretty reliable every time we've gone.
There's a room full of bats,
so
though. That's the only thing that throws me on that one.
I remember, Mary, we went there and it was like a safari park. There were toads and mice and weird little frogs and spiders and bats.
And they all seem to follow me.
Yeah,
Bats.
That's the only time I've seen you walk around with your torch just pointing directly at the floor at all times.
I was worried to step on something.
That's funny.
Good. No, good.
A few people on the Zoe said that she's only ever done Preston Manor as a house, but what a house to do, really. Sarah Tenner said Preston Manor as well, and then Ginger said he loves Preston Manor, but then Nikki said Marwell Hall and Wimmering Manor as well.
Marwell Hall was quite good. We've done that a couple of times.
I've never done it.
No, we did a dual event one night, and I did Marwell and then come over to Merchester Hall.
Yeah, I've never been there. We investigated twice, have we?
Twice. I've been there twice, yeah.
Been there twice. I've never done it. It's one venue that we've done twice in Southern Coastside, but it's a weird one, isn't it? Because that's in the centre of the safari park. So did anyone on... Have you been to Marwell, haven't you?
Marwell. Yeah, well, we did dowsing rods at Marwell, didn't we? It was one of my first few events.
Yes. Just triggered my mind for another show. But yeah, we'll talk about dowsing.
We did a dowsing rod session. That was what I'd say. It's got to be at least 8-9 years ago that we did that.
Oh, easy, yeah.
But because if I know the smokers were advised if they want to go and smoke outside, you've got to go with another person. You can't go out on your own because of the animals. There's a possibility they can escape. And I know there was one guy that was adamant, it's all right, I don't need anybody outside with me. And he went out for a cigarette, and he was wandering off across the gravel. And he went, what are you doing there? I said, well, look, if anything is out here, it's going to get you before it gets me. And I'm closest to the door. So, yeah, I'll stay here now.
You only had to outrun him, didn't you? That's what you needed to do.
Oh, yeah, I got outrun him, that's all. So, but yeah, it's. I like Marwell, I must admit. But, yeah, I've only ever done it once. I haven't been there a couple of times. But there are just so many great manor houses, aren't there? You know, I don't have a favourite, I've got to say. I was going through all my notes and just looking. I like walking in and being wowed by the building. You know, the big sweeping staircases. Even Wimmering, you walk into that lounge, and I remember at Christmas time, you've got the Christmas tree up, you've got the log fire, you've got the sweeping staircase. It's just so atmospheric, and it that just brings it all alive. You know, having
places ever though, women.
Yeah, I mean,
freezing.
Yeah, it's part that's warm, but you know, and Stansted House is lovely as well. You said about the chapel in the grounds. It's all part and parcel of sort of the investigation sort of atmosphere of it all, isn't it? You feel that the family is still there. Yeah, I don't have a favourite. I like all manor houses. If there's a manor house investigation, I will do my utmost to be on it. Give or take the prisons, not really fussed about that. Curiosity about prisons.
That's another show, prisons. That was supposed to be in tonight, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Prisons was going to be tonight, but
yeah, no, it's just they're too angry. You know, there's too much anger in them. Whereas a manor house, you know, not a gossip, but it's almost like that, isn't it? We're going to have a good old chat, and it's just a nice evening in that sense. But,
yeah, I agree.
Don't have a favourite. Love them all.
David has said as well, manor houses were lived in, and all that comes with that. So all the negative energy, the positive energy, everything with it. Sad and happy times of losing family members, friends, birthdays, other celebrations. It's all being imprinted, and very much like in the fabric of the foundations. And I think that's 100% right. And I think the only exception in that, I think I'll say 100% right. They're 99.9% right, because like Winchester Mansion you mentioned, it is so half finished, and it's just so. It would be beautiful, wouldn't it? And I always found, I think that I didn't always find it because we've had some good stuff there, but sometimes parts of it feels a bit so unfinished and so frustrated. So you've got, and I think that brings a different aspect of it, because a lot of these manor houses. Well, what about this then? There's a question. I know I'm diverting, but I always do. So loads of these manor houses as well bring a different dimension, because quite a few of them were used in the war. So we've been to quite a few places, haven't we, where a manor house has been used either to help refugees or evacuees, but also some of them were doubled as hospitals. I know we went to Northwood House, didn't we? And at one stage, that there was completely turned into had a hospital, didn't it? And an operating centre. There's and stuff like that. So you do have sort of the flip side of it, where you could get a little bit of conflict and anger, but it's mainly nice and mainly good. What about you, Mary? Favourite manor house?
Wow, so mine is Wimmering, but it for a number of reasons I struggle like everybody else in terms of choosing one, but Wimmering is one of my favourites. But it also, just thinking out loud, adds to what you've just said. Wimmering, the history behind Wimmering is immense, and it has layer upon layer upon layer of history. And I went there, it was my very first investigation, and there was a caretaker that lived there at the time. And he said that there was 26 spirits living there, and that ranged from, early 1600s, I would say, right through to sort of, current times today. But it's one of my favourite locations because of the experiences that I've had there. So I've seen shadow figures, we've had things thrown at us, but every time we've gone there, we've had sort of phenomenal things happen. We've had doors open on command, EVPs, shadow figures, and the first time I went there, I saw a shadow figure, and for years I've been sort of saying to Andy, seen a shadow figure there, and he was always very sceptical, always sort of, trust.
Not having that said about our Andy.
It doesn't sound like it.
No, it doesn't.
But I know that he had a very similar experience with also one of our other team leaders, Jodie, when I wasn't there. So it kind of helped with the validation of that experience is there. But again, it's just a fabulous place, but was so hard to choose because so many of the places that we've been to, they're unique in their own experience.
It's unearthed, especially when we do the sort of pre-show or we sort of get together. It unearths so many different experiences we got. Both I have a caught on camera or caught on an EVP, and you know what? I'll put down here. My favourite one is to be confirmed because I generally now even put myself on the spot. I sit back, grab myself a cup of tea. I can sit and talk about them forever. But
that's also unlike you, isn't it?
Yes, very very unlike me. But for Manor houses, I don't know. I think that it's almost like. My favourite one's the last one I've been on that I've had activity on, and I think that the Fulford House. I've mentioned it earlier on today. Fulford House is strange, and I think it's not the most lavish of places that we've been to.
No.
It's not the biggest place we've been to. The history-wise there's lots of history there, but the sheer fact of having the family that are still living there, the portraits on the wall of the family that are still there, still accountable. I think that the eldest son was on Celebrity Big Brother, I think. And
they had a show about that.
If anyone's not seen that, Meet the Fulfords. Go and watch it because it's fascinating. It's fascinating.
They're brilliant.
And you know, we turned up there, and we turned up there when we sort of first drove up to it, and thinking, oh, it can't be like the TV show has dramatised it. And it absolutely didn't. No. He came out with a sherry in his sort of tweed, just come from the pub. Not making accusations here, Mr. Fulford, if you're watching, but generally he was Lord of the Manor. He needed a shotgun popped over his arm, I reckon, and a rabbit and a couple of feathers, and that would have been the typical stereotype. But to be able to walk around and know the history of the place, to be able to investigate half of it, he let us sleep there, although we didn't because it was too cold. And I think one of them were too scared to stay there, so we didn't. We drove home. But
it was too cold. There was no way we would accept it.
It was absolutely freezing. But to be able to walk in there and then sort of chat to the family, chat to a Fulford, who the house is named after. To sit there and look at the history and their experience. It definitely is one. Definitely, I'll have to go down in a minute as one of my favourites. Preston Manor will always be my favourite venue, I think, as a whole. But we've had so many different experiences and so many different stuff that Fulford's the last manor. I think probably. Do you reckon Fulford's the last manor house we went to?
Yeah,
it was. Last manor house. Yeah.
I've chatted to Mr. Fulford just again, probably something for off air, but I'm telling you now. I've been chatting to Mr. Fulford about going back there, and because of the way the house is situated. So if you're picturing Fulford House, it's almost a square, isn't it, with a courtyard in the middle. Yeah. The family live to the left-hand side. And the investigation site is the right-hand side. They let us sleep there. There's no one there. It's freezing. But actually, you can completely social distance. So it's one of them that we can actually go there and investigate quite soon. It might be one of the first ones we do because you can go there. We can go in a group of 6, which will be, it's almost outside because one of the ends ain't got a door on. So in fairness, it is. I'm not sure what. Yeah, I'm sure it's to be classed as outside. But it's probably one we'll go back to relatively quick to the history of the battles that took place there and the family being there. It's been really cool. So we've had a question come in. What do you guys get? Most average. So do you get positive or negative energy? David, do you mean in manor houses or in general? And I would say probably it's the same answer. I think we get most positivity on most venues we go to. And I believe that's the way we investigate. I think it's the risk. I know we say we behave like this in manor houses and stuff, but I'm respectful everywhere I go. Whether it's a prison, whether it's Bodmin Jail, where we've had our best. Let's look at Bodmin Jail for instance, right? Bodmin Jail, we've had our best ever experiences when we've gone. Listen, the crime you committed now, you wouldn't, stealing a loaf of bread to feed your family, you wouldn't be in here now. Like, come and tell us your story. Like, doesn't matter where we go. You're on a level, and I always say, listen, you wouldn't walk into a pub and just be a complete arse, would you, and be an idiot, because you wouldn't get people talking to you, and you wouldn't get, and that's in real life. So actually, I have the same attitude as I do investigating, and whether it's a prison, I see you sniggering now. I don't do that sort of thing anymore. I'm growing up. I'm a married man. Good. No, but generally, I think it's the attitude we put into it. And we've been with you boys before. David put the question in. We've investigated with you boys. You guys are exactly the same. It's respectful. It's good, genuine, honest questions. There can be that. If we need to start pushing things and try and get a reaction, but it's all.
I think it's quite amateurish to go in there, all guns blazing, and
agreed,
and to just be argumentative from the start. And I don't. Again, like you said, if you're not going to get a good reaction or a reaction at all, if you go in there with attitude and giving it some.
Yeah.
Why would you ask? Why would you waste your time talking to someone who doesn't want to be nice from the start? So.
You think about it, right? We go into a place, yeah. We've got flashy equipment, all mad. Like when Andy and Beth, if anyone's ever been on an investigation, they've got cameras coming out here and everything bleeps, and it's like R2D2 and C3PO walking around. But that's to capture, 360 cameras and everything's,
yeah.
What must we look like to, if we're saying that spirits are wandering around and so you're walking into a manor house and the Lord of Manor's still there, what we're doing is completely alien to most. You'd be hung, you'd be tried as a witch, in some areas, So actually, what we do is completely alien. We've got flashy devices and little boxes that bleep. If you go into it with the wrong attitude and not explaining yourself properly and not conducting yourself properly, then you just set yourself up for a fall. We've had venues where some people have gone into it and got nothing, and we've gone into it and had real good nights, and I think it's down to the way we approach it.
It's quite a common theme, though, isn't it? I think
so. I think it is.
It's about going with respect and gaining the confidence of the person you're talking to.
Definitely.
If you go in, defensive and interrogating, people are just going to shut down. Whereas if you go in and introduce yourself and say a little bit about who we are, what we're doing, it's going to gain the confidence, and it allows whoever we're talking to feel comfortable enough to ask us a question. And we also respect the boundaries. So we say to them, if you don't want to talk to us, you can tell us you don't want to talk to us, and we'll respect that. We won't go, do this and we'll go away. They do it, and then we continue. We'll go away if that's what they really want. And it is that's a brilliant investigation, is gaining the confidence and the trust and the openness of the people, spirits that we're talking to. I just think the vibe that I get from Manor House is a happier one, because the people generally are there because they've had, it's their home, or they've enjoyed working there, or they've had some pleasant association. Whereas with the prisons and the jails and things like that, it isn't necessarily a voluntary thing. It's an incarceration. They were forced to go there for whatever reason. And they might be disgruntled. They may be feeling, unjust, and that's a sort of a negative energy to start off with. So to try and gain the confidence of somebody that we look like an authoritative, figure, asking the questions, why are you here? What have you done? Trying to do it in a gentle way, it isn't always well received. So, Manor Houses always sort of give a good feeling, a good vibe. But, it is how we go in and investigate, definitely.
Julie's asked the question, and I'm gonna chuck it to you guys, because I'd be interested to see what you guys think of it. And I talk too much anyway. But she's put, don't you think that if the family are living there, so still living there, and you're getting communication from their family or from the family, that the house is not necessarily haunted, then we're just getting a pure spirit communication from their past relatives?
Yeah, it's intelligent haunting, isn't it? I don't know that people are necessarily connected to the building, because we've proven on investigations it could be somebody passing through the venue, or they've, we've had examples where they've seen us sat in the dark talking, and spirits have come forward to find out what we're doing. So we don't have a definitive answer that the places we're investigating are the places that are haunted. I just reckon that the spirits are around us all the time, and I think they get to tune in when they choose to tune in and ask us and talk to us if they want to. It's on their terms, not on our terms.
I think it's definitely a draw, though. I think a family being there as well would give someone, if you've got, for instance, Mr. Fulford there and his mother, we've not say we came into communication with her, but she'd have every reason to want to be around her grandchildren. And actually, it could be more of a pull. And I think that, I'm not sure, I know that again, you're probably going to, I think, you're going into it. Yeah, you're going to go into it in a minute, have a thing in terms of your experiences there. But we'd made a connection with a family member through, I'm not going to steal your thunder, but we actually have done that. So actually, we've got a draw from the family. Shut up. But yeah, but we have though, and we that it's worked for us. Exactly what Julie is saying. Do you think that's the case? But it gives a reason for someone else to stay around. So yeah, most definitely. David said, I'll tell you guys something. I'm just going to read this out because it blows our trumpet a little bit. But we've investigated side by side with you, with many teams, and you guys are like us. You keep it real. You keep it real, and there's not many teams like us out there, unfortunately. And it's right in it. We have seen that. We've investigated with Dave and his team, and it is about gaining trust, and it's about doing the right thing. Really, treat people how you want to be treated. And I think that's past life and this life, really. But yeah.
I also find that actually putting yourself in their shoes, to imagine what it's like to live their life, and that, as Heather said, builds the confidence of and gains their trust of sort of anywhere that you investigate. Really, it doesn't have to be manor houses. It's if you can be sensitive and empathise with them, and put yourself in their shoes, and sort of it helps to gain their trust.
Yeah. Exactly what Dave said there.
Yeah,
it's all about gaining trust.
Yeah.
Back on.
So then, last question for me for the evening, and you'll be pleased to hear, right? We've got our favourite location. One, do we think that differs from our favourite experience? So what's your favourite location? Do you have a favourite experience that differs from your favourite location? So I'm going to throw it to you again.
Yeah, I definitely do, but
I want you to pronounce the name of the place as well.
They've changed it, I think. It's now called the Welsh Manor House, Secunda Manor. It's Lelanthony.
Andy, what is it?
Go on, Andy.
Lenati Secunda Manor.
Oh, I love it.
Isn't it?
So it's a manor house in Wales, isn't it?
Yes. So really we went there last year. No, year before.
2020.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 nights as well.
Yeah, I only made the second night. For some reason, it worked. But yeah, we were investigating their live stream. We had a few things during the night, and I was recording live streaming from my phone with a selfie stick thing, and we're in the main lounge, and there's the whole team together. No one else is wandering around. And we're calling out, just talking, and I'm just panning the room. And as I go round towards the doorway, you just see a hand come round like that and then come back. And we spent hours trying to recreate it. We couldn't. I was filming in my right hand. I'm right-handed, so the camera was in my right hand, which luckily John took a photo probably about 5 minutes before of me recording, sat in the same chair, and to my right, where the hand come round, is the doorway to the kitchen. There's a doorway there, but there was literally, we couldn't explain it, could we? There was no one sat behind me. I went back to a wall. It's just blown my mind, and I've watched the footage back a million times. It's a definite hand. There's five fingers.
Was it Andy from home?
So live streams
I don't even see it.
Fantastic in investigations as well, because people on the other side of the live stream can then see what's going on the camera and let you know straight away, whereas otherwise you'd have taken that footage home and watched it, and you wouldn't have been able to then go and check things as soon as you knew that was going on.
No. Yeah, because we literally spent the next half an hour, 40 minutes trying to debunk it, basically trying to see if it was a shadow that I've caused. But I was the only light source in front of the camera. That was the only light source in the room. So yeah, we couldn't.
It was the wrong hand. It was the hand that's coming across with the thumb was the same one as you were holding the camera with.
It was the hand, yeah. Yep.
Is that video live yet? Do we put anything live on that one? Is that on YouTube?
It is. Yeah, I think it is.
I don't know where it is.
I think it's probably one of the footage we'll try and bring to you Saturday, because I think it's setup of it's really good, and I think that you'll see it's really hard to explain, but it couldn't have possibly been you. And I think the great thing about investigating in the team that we do, and the way we do it, John, to take a photo of you where your position really validated where you were sitting, how you were sitting, and then physically you would have had you almost would have to have gone.
I'd have had to film left-handed, move my hand around, but you can see the door. Yeah. I'm panning to the doorway, so even if I was filming left-handed, there's no way I could have done it right. Yeah,
it's odd. wish we were probably. I'm not going to promise that yet, but that's certainly a video we try and bring to you Saturday because I think that it's really good. That was your air freshener.
No, it's not. It's turned off.
Oh, it's had like a weird hissing noise. I've not even heard that. I think that. Not really scared. That's all the bravado. I'm the bravest one here. So moving on really quickly. So yeah, that's a really good one. But that's a weird manor house, isn't it? Because it's in the centre of. Yeah, it's a weird manor house because you're in the centre of an estate. It's a modern estate, and it's just more like a townhouse, isn't it? But really
Beautiful place, though. Beautiful.
Yeah, I stayed there for 2 nights. I was brave enough to stay for 2 nights and didn't make an excuse about work. So Andy,
mine actually
what's your one, mate?
Touched on earlier actually, so I'll give the full story. So we're in Wimmering Manor, and we're on the first floor, and I was kind of hanging around that balcony area. If anyone's gone to Wimmering Manor, you know that kind of overlooks the entrance hall. And there were a team investigating the main bedroom just to one side of that balcony, and they start saying, "Whoa, what are we seeing down here? This is I can see some sort of shadows." And someone comes to grab me and say, "We can see this shadow going past the door." So I go into the room, and me and there must have been about 6 or 7 other people there, all standing looking at this door. And at the bottom of the door, where there was a light, there was a little black shadow kind of passing, kind of slowly, and then disappearing in front of it. So I thought that's impressive, and I ran around the other side to see if I could see anything. Not a thing at all. So I then stand there for a while with Jodie, who's also in the team, and trying to figure out what could have blocked that light that was going underneath the door. And we were looking at the windows and trees and things. Nothing else really kind of stood out. And then both of us kind of stopped and looked at this figure that had walked across the top of the stairs in the attic and stopped there. And for the life of me, it looked like Dan. It was kind of weird, but it's to me it was Dan. I saw like a really faint torch, like those really sort of cheap key fob sort of torches which kind of barely light up. It looked like Dan was carrying one of those, and then turned to stand and looked down the stairs towards both of us, and then somehow, and neither Jodie and I remember this, Dan wasn't there anymore. And I turned to Jodie and said, "It was Dan," and she said, "It was Dan, wasn't it?" And I said, "I don't know, I better go check." So I got up, walked up the stairs, and as soon as I get to the top of the stairs, the attic door opens and Hev comes out. And I said, "Hev, where's Dan?" And Hev said, he's down with the team down the other end of the attic. I said, "Has anyone just come out here?" And she went, "No, I'm just finishing up here with the first person out." I'm like, what was that? And that's the first time, literally, I've ever seen something I could say that was a shadow figure. I looked full on at it. I knew exactly what I was looking at. I could see a shape in it. So I went back and then started talking to Jodie, and we kind of did that thing where you ask a question about what you saw, and the other person answers, and you do that a few times just so you're not trying to feed into each other's memories. And one of the weirdest things about it was that both of us remember seeing a full figure, and then when you actually sit at the end of the balcony and look up, and someone stands there. We actually had Dan stand at the top of the stairs at one point just to measure it. You can't see a person from sort of chest height up. So, but both of us saw a full figure standing there, even though that would be impossible because you can't see a full figure at the top of that stairs. So that night, I literally then, after that, just sat on that balcony and looked at that stairs for about 4 hours.
But that's great experience, especially there's nowhere near. And you know what? In fairness, I'm not quiet either. I'm probably anyone that's even watching. I've just so many sessions where I just come clattering through the door, or you get so nosy, I end up just sort of just leaving heaven and walking off. So yeah, amazing experience that is. I've just one of them. Did you see? Because you would have had your camera on, but it didn't capture him, did it? So you would have had your camera.
Frame, so the camera was pointing just slightly out of frame, and then when I go to sort of get up to look, then it tilts up. So there's like 45 seconds it's not pointing in the right direction, and that's exactly when I needed it. Always the way.
Dave said there as well, have you ever tried playing period music, trying to gain response? We've done this quite a bit, and it seems to help. Music is intermediary, so we believe it. We believe that sort of thing anyway. We have, haven't we? We have, and we've had some good response with it. And
very good.
we were sort of saying before, not just music, David. We've played things. Well, Andy and Beth played where there was one of the manor houses in the Isle of Wight. There was an area that was used by French nuns. Was it French nuns? I keep saying that. Is that right?
We were there. They were a convent as well.
And you played. Yeah, and you played that sort of sound, didn't you? You played sort of relative sounds and sounds that people could relate to, around there. We've been to hospitals where Andy and Beth will leave a room, but we've also put in like hospital music, so the general hubbub of like hospital ward and nurses and people walking around and the general sort of conversation.
I was speaking to someone last week actually, last night, about music, and they said to me, even better than recordings is live music. So maybe at some point we could grab one of those guitars and then try that somewhere.
Yeah,
we'll be happy to do that.
I'll be all over that.
Definitely, you wouldn't stop us. So we don't allow them to go. So we'll have to sell it as a concert, I reckon, rather than a ghost hunt. But we've also, Lee was saying about Craig Nos, it's a castle and a probably completely different show. But we've Adeline Patty that was there. We played her singing, and we've got an EVP, or certainly Jace has got an EVP of continuing singing afterwards, which is brilliant. Which is absolutely crazy. Yeah, so we use it all the time, and we've definitely had a really good response to it. Great question. So then, who's next? Hev, not favourite venue, but favourite experience at Manor House.
I think I'll have to go back to Great Fulford. Same evening, I'm pretty certain it was the same evening. We had the kinetic set up. So I was with the two Marks and Mike, and we had these two stick figures on the kinetic, and Mark was stood by the one of the windows. So we had a really tall stick figure jumping up and down, and then we had a very small stick figure. And Mark could feel cold on his hand, and on the kinetic you could see the stick figure reaching out and actually touching his hand. We hadn't prompted him and said, there's something touching your hand. I've just said, how do you feel? And that's when he said, I've got a really cold spot on my left hand. And you could see the stick figure reaching out to him. But on that same sort of session, I know that Mark decided to do some question and answer session with a voice recorder. And I kind of tucked myself back into the corner and took the dowsing rods out, because it's just something I do, just try and see if there's a connection with whomever Mark's kind of talking to. So I'd established the yes and no, and as he's asking the questions, I'm getting yes or no answers on the rods. We actually established we were talking to somebody who is one of the Fulford relatives, and we established the name. Now, anybody that knows me on investigations knows that I'm absolutely useless with names. I cannot remember names. I struggle with my own at times, let alone anybody else's. And we had a name come through. So Mike then scooted through to the little room off the Great Hall with all the wood panelling, and went through all the portraits and came back and said, yes, there's a portrait of the person of the name that you've just connected to in there. So yeah, it just all kind of like just tied all that of history, and it just brings all the information together really. So yeah, great Fulford from a Manor House point of view. Fantastic experience, but if we had the time, there's probably a great experience at every Manor House that I've been to be honest.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm the same as you have. It's difficult to pick one.
Yeah.
Mary, what about yourself then? Oh, sorry, Ev.
No, I was just going to say, it just depends which investigation technique we're using. It just, there's all sorts. But yeah,
with me, it's the last thing of. If we're talking about something, it's in my mind. That's it.
What about yourself then, Mary?
Yeah, so my one probably goes back to Preston Manor again. And we was with a friend Vicky, and we had gone to China dog room, and there's a corridor. Said the name very carefully. There's a corridor outside. It's not carpeted. But me and Vicky went into the room. There's nobody else in our area. Andy and Beth are sort of completely the other side of those rooms, doing their own investigation in the seance room. So they're sort of quite isolated from us. And we hear possibly the clearest footsteps that I've ever heard. And it was like somebody had walked along the floor with sort of hard-soled shoes. Now, so most of us, when we go on an investigation, we all wear trainers or something soft soled so that we don't create footsteps, essentially. And yeah, we sort of dashed out there straight away to see who was out there, checked where Andy and Beth were. They were still in the seance room. Yeah, and it was one of the clearest sort of footsteps that we'd heard. Unfortunately, it was right at the beginning of the session, and I didn't have my recorder on, so, you know.
Again, always the way.
Thanks for that.
Always the way.
But we've had that on a completely separate night as well, haven't we? Where we were saying when she told us the story last night, we've had a similar experience where we've had the motion detectors go. It actually went in the way. We had a K2 that bleeped, so that was outside the door. Then we had the REM pod go off, and then the motion detectors go off. So actually walking towards the front desk. So we've had that doesn't make my top one. That there is something that we've we had ourselves really.
Yeah, no, it's a good connection.
Yours then?
So me then, mine was probably one of the first. Well, it's the first time we ever visited Woodchester Mansions, and I would say this experience will live with me to the day I die. We were a new investigation team. It was one of the first times we did somewhere lavish, somewhere huge, somewhere. That's one
of Theo's toys going off.
Is it?
Yeah.
What did I thought I had like what is that? It needs to be touched, does it?
Yeah, you have to push a button.
Well, next time we're going to bring you a paranormal investigation. We've had like a hiss or something. I heard his voice a minute ago here, and then we don't want to feel his voice go off.
Did anyone else hear that?
Yeah,
Like chimes.
Yeah, we heard it. Yeah, we heard it.
So my favourite experience is in Lee's Manor House. But Woodchester Mansion. So we're a relatively naive team, a new team, and we've gone into this massive manor house, and it's the first time we sort of really split into teams. It's probably one of the first investigations that we had genuine people on that we didn't know. In our early days, we had lots of friends and family and people we knew come on. Yeah. So actually, we felt completely out of our depth. There were people that turned up with equipment we didn't have, and we are down in the cellar. So we're down literally in the bottom of the bottom, and we're investigating. And so we set up a board, and I'm with Jason Thomas and a few other people. We set up a board in the cellar, and we think we capture an EVP. Actually, that's another that says "Help me, Roger." So Roger's calling out. So Roger's doing some general calling out and saying, my name is Roger. Can you communicate with us and trying to open a board? And all of a sudden, we get this almighty roar, growl, cry. I don't know what it is, but genuinely, right? I've never seen a walkie-talkie go off so much. And I've literally picked up this walkie-talkie. The two girls that are walking towards the back end of the cellar have run from a room. So you can automatically say, "Is everyone okay?" And because if you've ever been to Woodchester Mansions, it's half a building. So I thought someone had fallen. Genuinely thought we'd lost someone, and I radio through. So Lee was on one floor, the other side of it. My dad was on the middle floor, and I radio through. So listen, is everyone accounted for? Is everyone okay? And they were like, "Yeah, what?" Did you hear that noise? And that video, I reckon we'll try and bring that to you on Saturday. And we've probably got 1,000 videos now I've mentioned, but if not, go onto our YouTube channel. Sunday, not Saturday, Sunday. Go onto our YouTube channel and look at Growl at Woodchester Mansions. And I'm telling you now, it sounds fake. But honestly, we spent then, once we ascertained that everyone was safe and everyone was well, we listened back to the recordings. We actually then went up to Chris, who was sat in the room, and said, "Chris, listen, we caught this. He must have played something.
He was asleep, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was asleep and didn't hear it. We looked in every chimney, every fireplace. The only way it all could have been recorded, especially because the house isn't a townhouse. We were here. It was dotted over there, and then when you got upstairs, it's almost like it
came from the centre of the house.
Came from the centre of the house, and this was a growl that. It's like I say, if someone would have played it to me, I'd have gone, yeah, all right. But honestly, our insurance flashed before my eyes. I'm thinking, how the hell, we're going to explain this? We've got our first big investigation, and someone's gone over the side. I was frantically talking to my dad and Lee, going, listen, make sure someone's fallen. It sounded, and when you listen to it back, it's a roar. It's like a growl, and
it's horrible,
isn't it?
It was horrible to. There we go. That's exactly what it's like. Were you there, Andy, or not? Yeah, you were hiding the chimney breast.
Just debunked it all these years. Debunked it.
It sounds exactly like Andy just did there, and it was it was a really strange experience, and it came from the room that came from sort of the center of the house. But how all three of us got the EVP, you know, it sounded like a speaker. We and if you know Chris there, you know that Chris and Paul, they're not that sort of people. They're not the sort of people. They don't need. It's not their place. They don't. You know, in fairness,
the place doesn't need advertising, does it?
Doesn't need revenue. Some places you've been to where you do question the activity, but there, honestly, yeah. So that's definitely my favourite experience. My favourite experience of all time, I reckon.
We all the time. I was going to say, you also had your name called once. Do you remember outside?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was very strange.
We're doing a Winchester show, aren't we? I said we're going to stop doing these shows when we start investigating. We're going to be doing these till 2040.
We're going to investigate and just do shows.
I reckon so. But Winchester's got to be a show soon because we've had. I mean, Andy and Beth have heard me when I'm not even been there. The voice sounds like me.
So. Outside, and then when we were there without you, we had you there as well. That's kind of odd.
That was
someone likes you.
Strange.
It was weird. Yeah, like
no, it was like a desperate call for you.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. Oh God, yeah, it was. It was like someone. Yeah, it was like someone really wanted me. It's like someone really called out to me. And really strange, isn't it? But
Jason's got a photo. Jason's photo.
That's
crazy. I don't think we'll get something like that again. So that we do need to do a Winchester show.
We should get Jason. We'll get Jason on the show for it as well because I think with you guys would be the people to get on the show for that one.
I want to go to Winchester Mansion now.
I know. But that'd be another one, I guess. I guess that'd probably be another one we could go to. Pretty well once the house opens up, we'll probably pretty early on because you're so secluded, you're not bothering anyone. Chris will sit in his room. It's big enough for us to go somewhere else. But yeah, that'd be somewhere we go to. I mean, we've done it with 10 people. You've done it with 4 or 5 people, haven't you? We've done it with 20 people, and we've always had good activity there. We just clicked over for the hour now, so it's been amazing to chat with everyone. So Sunday, we're coming live to you on Sunday evening at 7 o'clock. We're going to bring to you the footage we've spoken about this evening, as many as we can cram in, but not too many to overkill. I think that's why we'll look at what we deem as our best ones. The reason we did Manor House today is because we've got lots on YouTube as well. So go over and check it out. Go and have a listen to the growl. Go and have a listen to the activity, or go and see what we've done from Manor Houses. But it's been amazing to chat with you again. The interaction on the chat is getting better each week, and it's great to hear your stories and really speak to like-minded people that do what we do and validate what we do, especially like. You know, we've had people say about manor farmhouses and stuff, and I know there was a chat when we may have missed something, but I know that someone said about her husband was a skeptic till he went to manor farmhouses, and I think we've had lots of people that have done that sort of thing as well. But it's been amazing to chat. Like I said, this is my Bob Geldof moment, but we really want to bring our live events to you. We really want to try and do what we do now, but in the confines of a location. And to do that, we need likes and shares on Facebook and certainly follows. On YouTube. We're going to try and bring to you. YouTube, we've worked out, is probably our best platform to bring to you. We can't go live until we've got around 1,000 followers and certainly some more. So if you can like us and follow us on YouTube, we're trying to get as many followers as we can. It's been a real good increase since we've been doing the show. But like the show, share the show on Facebook and other social platforms as well. And definitely tuning in on Sunday to sort of see the footage we've been chatting about. But that's all from us. Sunday, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Love to chat with you again. Love to show you and see what you think and give us your feedback. Judy said, thank you. Great show again. Look forward to Sunday. We'll see you there. Sarah, miss you. You got to come back soon and see us soon.
Definitely.
But yeah, been amazing out there. We can, get back investigating again. But let's sign off. But thank you ever so much.
Cheers. Thanks for watching, guys.
And we'll see you.